on-wood maneuvers, so stay tuned for that.
Have I ever used power tools by myself with no one around? No, I haven't, but here I am.
What's really important here, what we need to talk about is this mustache. I'm ready to get it on and get it done.
What?
I'm Kristen, and this is Matt. We've spent the last 4 years sailing our $5,000 Craigslist boat to some of the most beautiful places in the Caribbean. From spearfishing in South Andros, Bahamas, staying in a treehouse and riding horses through the rainforest of the Dominican Republic, to even dodging hurricanes in Puerto Rico. We could have never imagined what this adventure would become. After gaining more sailing experience, we knew we had to make some serious upgrades to our boat if we wanted to keep this journey going. So we decided to go all in with our 40-year-old boat and get a new engine. We soon realized that we were in for more projects than we originally planned on. There's gonna be some major changes coming up, so hit subscribe and join us for the journey.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sailing GBU. This episode is going to be an exciting episode because we're doing something a little bit different. We have a ton of carpentry left to do, an overwhelming amount, and we got a little bit ahead of our videos, so we're going to do a fun, time-lapse, blaze through as many projects as we can together, and it's going to be like a normal video but fast forward. So if you like time lapses, you're gonna love this video. And for people that think our projects are not satisfying because you never get to see them fully out, you're gonna love this video too.
Yeah, definitely gonna be we're not slowing down for any sort of filming or anything like that. We've seen the saw work, we've seen the drill work, we've seen the square. We don't need to see any more of it. This is gonna be a quick wrap up to see how much work we can get done in a short amount of time, and then hopefully put that away and move on to the next projects.
So let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time. We're about to be blazing through this boat. So the other day, we ordered our sink and it arrived. Look at this bad boy. Yes, it's ceramic. Yes, it's decently heavy, but we didn't want to get one of the stainless steel ones for the half bath. It's teeny, it's small, it's gonna fit perfectly in this spot, and we're gonna try to make it, what's the word? Undermount of the countertop. Is that right, Matt?
Yes.
So that's what we're gonna do. Shiny, it's good. It's 10 times better than our old one, and I'm super excited. So let's get right into getting this set up in there, and then we can build the cabinet behind it.
Alright, to start the projects off, we had to pretty much move the wood that was going to be our future countertop. We're going to pour that later with some epoxy. We think we plan on doing that. We next had to measure and get perfectly in the middle and close enough to the front where you can lean over, wash your face, brush your teeth, but not too close where it just looks strange. So Matt got to sawing away the fiberglass, and as the dust came, I decided to vacuum it. The sink ended fitting up right into the hole, but we realized it wasn't actually leveled, and that was a problem. We used a fake faucet just to look at the spacing. Yeah, it's a mock-up faucet, don't make fun of us. Matt then decided to use scrap pieces of wood to finish leveling it out on the other side. Next, it was on to making the cabinet behind the sink. We decided to start off with the hardest part, which is building the sides, and since each spot in each area of our boat is all different shapes and sizes and angles and everything, this took actually a really long time, but luckily for you guys, you get to see it in fast forward mode.
Alright guys, it's the next day. We didn't get too much work done yesterday because, to be honest, we were working on our closet from the previous video. So we got a little bit done. We got our sink inset. We had to do it, pretty much cut it out and put it in a spot that we had our previous sink, so it was a little tricky. Matt built up some wood around it to get it pretty much leveled, and the wood on top is gonna be our countertop later on, right?
Yep, we're gonna end up cutting a hole in that because it's an inset sink. I think it's gonna come out really good. We're practicing with our router before we cut our hole for our sink to make sure that all that comes out perfectly. So we're working our way up to everything, and you know, it's going pretty smoothly.
So above the sink, we're going to be doing a void type of thing that we might light up with a light that it's going to be like made for towels or something. And then above that's going to be our cabinet. We had to sit there and figure out a lot how we were going to get the door and have a mirror back there, but it was one giant door, so we're going to have to do like 2 types of mirrors. It's a little difficult, but we are practicing with our router because we're going to make a slot for the shelf to slide in, so it's going to be sturdy. So stay tuned today. We got a lot more work going and should be fun.
All right, day 2. After Matt finally wakes up, we decided to measure the backboard of the cabinet. After a little bit of using some scrap wood to get the perfectly straight lines, we finally get that situated. Next, Matt leaves and had to run an errand, so I decided I'm gonna be a big girl and I'm gonna get these power tools out myself. Have I ever used power tools by myself with no one around? No, I haven't, but here I am. So I decided to screw in the sides of the cabinet. We wanted to make a cabinet that can slide in and out because we do have a chain plate that's located behind the cabinet. Obviously, it would help if I had a couple more hands or some sort of clamps, but I made it work. I got it together. Now I'm testing to slide it in, and it was a little sticky, so I decided I'm gonna sand off some of the extra wood because it was actually pretty close. Next, it was time to make the shelf. I really don't like wasting wood since it's so hard for us to go pick up the wood, so I used a piece of paper scrapped, but it was too flimsy that it wasn't really that helpful. But I decided to go with it anyways. So I put it out, I measured it up as a template and decided to cut the wood. I put my safety goggles on and it was going for it at that point. It actually fit in pretty good. It was really snug and I had to hammer it in, but with the routing lines in the side, it fit in pretty good. Next, it was time to make a square rectangle that was going to be the back of the void section of the cabinet. I also used a paper template for this, and I think it worked pretty well. It was a little longer than I wanted, and I had to cut it twice. So the paper template really didn't work. You need something like cardboard or like a poster board. Next, my hero came back and he saved me on my project. He better fitted the in screws that held it back together, and now he's cutting the top of the cabinet that fits snug towards the top of the hull of the boat. These are going to be the cabinet doors, and then he cuts those in half after sanding them. Now it's time to attach the hinges with his old jig, as he calls it, and his flip-flops. Probably not the best idea, but here we go. Another hand tool with flip-flops. Next, it was time to screw it actually into the cabinet. This took a little bit of configuration. It was a bit of time consuming, but with these hinges, they have a lot of adjustments. So Matt just spent his time adjusting to get it perfect. And it actually is probably one of our best cabinets we've made yet. And I'm going to say that because I helped out. That's why.
Alright guys, it's another day, and today we're working on the cabinets behind the bathroom toilet head, whatever you want to call it. Before, it wasn't bad, it just was that dark wood, so we're going to upgrade the wood and make it into something we like a little bit better. The doors are going to be flat, they're not going to be the old, whatever you call them, doors. What would you call those?
Shaker style doors?
Old shaker doors, and it's going to be a big upgrade, so let's get right into that. Matt's already been cutting up the wood, so we're going to try to assemble it now. So Stay tuned.
Alright, as you can see, this is probably the hardest room to record a video in. We are looking from the ceiling down, and Matt is attaching a piece of wood that he took a long time to cut to get it perfectly to hide the pipes, the tubes, whatever you want to call them, that takes your waste away. Next, he decided to put a little bit of a countertop that's going to go on the back, a little shelf, and then he has to begin cutting the sides of the wood of the cabinet. This frame was actually also really hard. I know I keep saying that, but these different projects on your boat in the cabinetry world are not a good idea for beginners. Let's just say that. We spent a good amount of time getting that situated, and then finally it was time for the doors. Now, Matt believed he was done at this point and says, "Here it is," and I unfortunately said, "This is not gonna work." With his angry tapping hand, we went to measure the rest of the wood, and I said, "Let's make some borders on these doors. They're just too tall and long and just look odd." So Matt spent quite a bit of time figuring out how many inches from the bottom and the top to make a border. Then we practiced sitting on our toilet to see if it was going to be comfortable. Yes, it looks like we took a dump in our toilet, but that's just water because we haven't been using our toilet because we've been in the Airbnb. Anyways, next it's time to cut the doors down. He's probably cussing me out because I made him redo his project, and we get this going pretty fast. I sit there not doing anything, and that's why people think I never do any work, but we both can't hold a saw at the same time. Next, we go back to the flip-flop and power tool jam, and we get those hinges all situated up. Once he gets those all screwed in, it's time to put them into the cabinet. Like every time before, it takes quite a bit of adjustment to get these all straight and perfect, but in the end, I feel like this project came out pretty good. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Does this look okay? I think in the end, once we get like the laminate on it, it's gonna look really great. Better than what we had before.
Alright guys, another day. I don't know, what day are we on in this video? 4, 5?
Yeah, another day, another dollar. Another dollar make you holler. You know what I'm saying?
Alright, so... Why'd you do that? Anyways, we finished the bathroom cabinet. That obviously is set up now, ready to go. We might put a shelf in there later, but we're moving on. Now we're heading into our barn door sliding bypass cabinet, whatever you want to call it, situation above our stove. I'm excited about this. I see a lot of room coming, but this is going to be a little difficult of a project. We're going to have to pull out the router. We're going to try to just do without any sliding hardware, just wood on wood. Wood on wood maneuvers. So stay tuned for that.
To start this project, we decided to take a piece of hardwood that we had originally purchased for different trim ideas that we had in the future. But we decided to use it for making our tracks because it will be a lot more durable and hopefully never break since we'll be using it every day sliding the cabinet doors. Matt had to sand off most of it because it was really rough, and I left outside so I didn't have to breathe in that wood and sawdust. Yes, it's a mess in our boat from all this sawdust, but we will clean that up later. Then we used the dusty cord, also known as a chalk line, to cut perfectly down the middle to get the top and bottom tracks for this cabinet. Am I the only one who gets terrified when Matt cuts over the sink thinking he's gonna hit the sink and chop up things and it's gonna go crazy? Anyways, next we had to demo behind the old Dragon's Lair cabinet. This thing is really hard to take apart. We noticed that the floor was semi-rotting on one side, so we're glad we did take it apart. And the back hull liner was still on there, so we tried to sand and rip that off, but that's going to be a job for the future. Next, we cut the top of the old cabinet so we can use it as a template or use it on our new project.
All right, so we got our track laid out, the size, the shapes that we want to do, what we're pretty comfortable with, and what we think adds the most strength to these sliders. And to actually make the sliders, I'm going to use 3/4 inch PVC board for a couple of reasons. One, it's a little bit lighter, it's a little bit cheaper than plywood or any type of hardwood, and it's waterproof, so I won't have any swelling of the wood inside the tracks. So I think that this is going to be the way to go for this.
First, we start out cutting the length of the cabinet doors. We made it longer than the length of the cabinet because there's going to be a little bit of overlap for the bypassing of the doors. We used a piece of scrap wood to make sure to get the cut extremely straight, because if it wasn't straight, the doors aren't going to slide very well in a squared track. Next, it was time to do the routing of the doors. This took so much time that I can't even tell you how long it took, because it took forever to do the routing of the doors and the tracks. But Matt came up with a really great idea. After looking online and researching, there was pretty much two ways that everyone talked about. There was the wood just going into a simple track, the whole door going into a track, or making like a rabbet, which was cutting both sides, routing both sides of the door and fitting it in with a tongue. And Matt came up with a different idea to make two, I guess I would say, L-shaped tongues so that the doors could seamlessly slide next to each other and be closer. You don't want to have two doors that are 3/4 width that are split apart, else now your cabinet is, the depth of your cabinet is going to be cut off. So that took a bit of time, but Matt came up with that great idea, and in the end, I think it came out to be pretty good. Now it was time to route the tracks. Each track, bottom and top, needs two different routing tracks for both of the doors. And you would think, oh, that shouldn't take too long, like we thought, but it does, because we didn't have the correct bit. We had a small bit, and we needed a 1/2 inch track for the door to slide through, so we had to go by 500 times, and then the depth we had to go by 500 times since this was hard wood. But Matt seemed to pull it off pretty well. You had to keep as straight as lines as possible also, because if it's not straight, like I said before, the door's not going to slide through. So this was kind of a hard project that you couldn't just slap together.
Alright guys, so as you can see here, I did an amazing job with this track. It was super small, very like detailed, like
Took us like 5 hours.
Yeah, and then the beauty of YouTube censorship is that I can show you what a great job I did flawlessly on this thing, as long as I cover up this bad boo-boo with my hand, or my router Tasmanian deviled on me and ran through it. But Kristen said we could just put some wood glue in there, and you know, I think it might work.
It's gonna be fine.
You
did a good job.
For all of it, because I don't have a 1/2 inch bit, so I had to really, this was a tough cut. Let's just put it that way.
At this point, I think we both were pretty much over this project, but we could not stop yet. We had to cut down the middle of the doors to actually get the two sliding doors, and once we did that, we could actually see if our tracks and everything fit perfectly and if it was going to work the way we planned. Now, before we get too excited, we decided let's try to fit it into the actual boat spot that we made the cabinet for to see if that's going to fit. We always have to be ready for any problems to arise.
Here we go, boy. It's gonna be too tall, I think. No, well, because the top track's not in there. All right, okay. Alright guys, today's the final day of this project. It's time to get this thing done. Are you ready to get it done?
I'm ready to get it on and get it done.
What? Anyways, we need to just put the sides on now. We're going to have the bottom tracks the doors put in, and then the sides, and it's going to be one unit after that. And then we're going to hopefully fit it in, and then should be pretty much done. We might add a shelves or we obviously have to fix the flooring in the future, but pretty much done with that.
Well, this
project.
is the roughing in. We're still in the rough carpentry, 7, 8, 9 months later, whatever it's been at this point. We're still in the rough carpentry phase, but yeah, we're going to get the door in, make sure we like it, and then once we like it and we say, wow, I'm in love with this slider doors, let's put some shelves in there, let's put a spice rack, let's get it. So I guess on that note, let's get it.
All right, here we go.
Alright, after Matt slides on the countertop to fit it all in place to see how it would look, we decided to take it out and put it together to measure for our side, I guess, structures of the cabinet. Now we wanted to measure these out perfectly because if it's too small, then your top and bottom are going to crunch together on the doors and the doors will not be able to slide. So we cut them, and as we put them together, I realized this seems a little bit short, like we cut them wrong. After we sat there and we discussed it, probably cussing each other out back and forth, I had a little bit of a panic attack. Matt said, it's okay. It's alright, we can just cut new ones. It's not a big deal. And I said, what if we can try to save it with this scrap piece of wood? He said, no, that's stupid. Let me just screw this together and let's just see how it goes. No big deal. So we decide to start screwing together. Then Matt had to save a neighbor boat from coming into the dock, and then he's back. And we're putting it together, and it turns out that it wasn't too bad after all. And then I just panicked for no reason. So lesson learned. Then we couldn't find any long screws, so we had to pretty much run around the boat taking things apart to find new long screws to finish this project. Typical move by us.
Alright guys, so as you can see, it came together pretty well. I'm pretty hyped on it. Everything seems to be pretty square, and it slides good. So Matt's routing skills have came through. He had one blunder, but we'll be able to fix that up, I think.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm really happy that we took the time to redo that dragon door. I didn't want to do it, but you know what? It's going to give us so much more room and be better overall.
Better room, cleaner. It's going to be just 100% better. It gives it a nice, cleaner, longer look throughout the kitchen, throughout the whole flow of the boat. But realistically, that's really not important. What's really important here, what we need to talk about, is this mustache. A lot of y'all been noticing mustache and saying, oh, ooh daddy. But
I don't think anyone said that.
a lot of people like this stash. A lot of people call me Charlie Chaplin. It's getting mixed results. It's like a bipolar thing. The guy in the yard that helps me out here, Salchicha, he don't even help me out no more. He calls me Charlie Chaplin and just won't even look at me in the face. So I said, I'm going to clean shave the rest of my face, and I'm just growing this hog out until...
Don't call it a hog.
I'm growing the hog out until I'm done with the boat. So this ain't getting shaved till the boat is done. So
what if it's... does it grow into your mouth?
Well, it's not going to take that much longer to go, I don't think. So once we get done with that, I'll hold the mustache ransom and we'll put it to a vote for you guys.
Comment down below what kind of different braiding hairstyles we're going to be doing, because we're going to be here for a long time. We can use little hair bands, and I can really braid it up, This is going to turn into a good look.
Hashtag stash or hashtag no stash in the comments below for me, because I like it, but it freaks people out. It's pretty aggressive, I think.
Anyways, if you guys want to be part of our Patreon pals, as Matt called it the other day.
Patreon pals.
Patreon pals. You can go down below, check out the links, and you get to be there to see our projects ahead of time and help us decide if we're doing something bad, or if I say, hey, should I do this color fabric or this color fabric? You get to help us decide and create our boat. And also, make sure you check out our t-shirts, as always, Teespring. Be part of our giant group. I still have yet to, I think, right? Tell me if I'm wrong, have run into a random person who's wearing our shirt out in the world.
Never a random, for sure.
Well, I don't mean random, but I mean like someone, I was just like, oh wow, there's our shirt. I don't think I've ever done that.
No, but we want to see that one day.
Yeah, so maybe one day. Comment down below and like this video, and make sure you stay in tune with all of our Boatyard series. So we'll see you guys next week. You got anything else to say?
That's it.
All right, bye guys.